Welcome back, everybody, to the Oz Bodybuilding Podcast. And today I'm joined by Sam Gardiner. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, thank you, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. So it's nice to have you on here. I've actually kind of, no, not kind of. I've actually been a fan of you for a while. I remember I used to see you back in Ashmore before the renovations, see you training
Oh,
like balls to the wall hard, and I was like, man, I want to be like that. Like giving me some inspiration in that. Because I always because I didn't know that you weren't a pro. I always thought because I always saw Aaron in you, and you were kind of like outside of Sam and Logan and that. I always like, oh, because I knew Aaron was the pro, and I was like, man, this must be the other pro here. And I was just like, this guy's just crazy, got a awesome physique. And you used to wear the pink leggings, the tights.
I wear a fair bit of pink, usually on leg days. Actually, I got pink on now. There you go.
So yeah,
Um,
I've been following you since then, and so it's awesome to kind of have you on here and have a chat.
I, honestly, that's fucking cool to hear, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. You don't really hear it much, I guess, that
yeah,
people say that use words like a fan or that they've had their eye on you and that. So
yeah.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's all right, man.
Yeah, I think my training style has always got a bit of attention. it's a
Hey,
bit it's not crazy, it's calculated, but I'm not afraid of intensity.
yeah, that's right. Hey, that's what makes it work.
And look,
Makes it
hey, if
grow.
we end up near Aaron's size one day, because we're same height, but
Yeah,
he's a thick dude, so
he is a thick dude.
if we could get close to that, I think I'll be doing all right.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady, I think that's the only way.
Yeah. All right. So first question is, what kind of like got you into bodybuilding, and what kind of, where did it start? Because I know you have a PT business, so I was wondering if that was something that you were kind of doing first, and then you kind of drawn into bodybuilding, or did bodybuilding come first, and then you were like, oh, let me start a coaching business?
Yeah, absolutely. Bodybuilding came way first. So I didn't start PT and coaching till I was 30. So back in
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
So I got into bodybuilding. My mum, so back as far back as my memory goes, mum was into aerobics. She would run to the gym, do aerobics classes, and run home. She was crazy, super fit. And she would date guys that were bodybuilders. So she went to a gym called Southbound in Adelaide, and that was the World Gym Ashmore of the 80s and 90s in Adelaide. That's where all your competitors went, all the guys were in the super subs. So she hung out at that gym, and you meet a few of these guys, they're big and jacked, and also I'm of that age group where Arnie Schwarzenegger was the big time
Mm.
star. Carl Weathers, Sylvester Stallone, like all of these guys were jacked. Van Damme was a jacked motherfucker. So I was seeing all these jacked people, and I was little, so I started when I was 11. Down the road, there was a health food store, and they would have last month's episodes of like Muscle Mag and all of those
Yeah.
bodybuilding magazines, and they were free on the floor because they were last month's. So I would always go down and grab last month's issues, and I'd look at all the jack dudes in the magazines. So from 11, I liked the look in the movies and I liked the look in the magazines. I thought it was super cool, and unfortunately, through my upbringing, was quite a violent time. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes from wanting to protect myself as well. I thought these guys looked big and scary and they looked like they could protect themselves. So there was a fascination for many reasons to get big and grow muscle. And I said from when I was very young, it's like as soon as I can, I'm going to get big. I'm going to get big, going to get big. And mum dated a guy and he gave us his old weight set, which is just an easy curl bar and some 10-pound and 20-pound plates, and started on the lounging floor, just doing skull crushes down to the floor,
Hell yeah.
floor presses, bicep curls, that just a little bit. And did it all the time. And then joined the gym when I was about 17 or 18. And because mum was in that gym for so many years, she's like, hey, my son's going to come up, look after him. And the old boys in the gym, the guys that are my age now,
Yeah.
they took me under their wing and I trained with them, and I competed in May of 2000 as a junior in the SABA, which was the South Australian Bodybuilding Association. Um, and yeah, got second. There was only two of us in the class,
Yeah.
so I took a second, which was fucking cool. but I didn't enjoy it. Like, as you can imagine, the diet back then, the internet was still very, very young. So I didn't have a computer. Mum couldn't afford a computer or anything like that. So I just went off the owner of the gym. He just wrote on a diet on a piece of paper. It was, it was no fats and no carbs, was no nothing. And he said, and I just ate that every day for 13 weeks. And he said, look, and water. The more water I drink, the leaner I get. So I'm like, cool, the more water you drink, the leaner you get. And so I'm just punching down 6 liters of water a day, just eating chicken breast with veggies, egg whites, and oats. Like, it was fucking disastrous. I was exhausted. I couldn't do anything. Got up there. I think his name was Michael Gorzakowski. He won, and he was really shredded. He was really lean.
Yeah.
And I had like a better shape and symmetry and everything, but I was backstage with my 4-liter jug of water drinking on. The more you drink, the leaner you get. So I had no fucking idea. So I was full of water, full of food, everything, and it was a 1-point decision. And basically, half the judges gave it to him because his conditioning was far superior, and half the judges gave it to me because the shape was superior. And it just sort of, as a 19-year-old kid, it left a bit of that sour taste in your mouth. You're like, you don't even have a set structure of what to follow. Like, is conditioning more important? Is shape and structure more important? And I was the only kid in the gym back in those days. There was nobody under 25. You know, it was very rare. So all my friends were out drinking and partying. So after that competition, I hurt my shoulder. And I fell out of the gym. And, you know, I didn't get back into lifting weights for hypertrophy and doing bodybuilding until I was about 36. So I had about 15 years away from the gym lifting weights. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
It was a long time. It was a long time.
What an interesting journey. Like, it's so true that our environment, you know, especially growing up, can really influence, you know, what we kind of become or who we kind of become. So, you know, like you're saying, you know, being around your mom, being really fit, and then as well, you know, being at the gym and being influenced around there, you know, made you kind of want to give it a go. And it's interesting also to kind of see, you know, how far, especially, you know, how well and deep you're in it now, you know, done multiple seasons, coaching yourself at, like, you know, you can look back and you go, yo, back in the day when I first competed at 19, like you said, drinking 6 liters of water a day, just no carbs, no fats. That's like, you just went off a piece of paper, didn't change your diet once. Like, the amount of knowledge that you've gained there, but you can say, hey, I gave the old school version a go. And it's just,
we did it.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to say, like, oh, the food's getting boring or they're tired or anything, I'll say, hey, I'll fucking write the diet on a piece of paper that got given to me. Let's see how you feel.
Let's see how you feel.
I'm just going to shut the door because it's quite windy and noisy.
That's all right. No worries.
It's the only fats I was having was a tablespoon of flaxseed oil a day. Fuck, man.
How did you even do it? Must have been being 19, those young adolescent genes kind of like kicking you in, because, you know, you kind of do anything when you're that age.
Yeah, I think it was one of these weird things. Like, it's just, you know, when you say you're going to do something, well, I don't know, my personality type, if I say I'm going to do something, I just do it. And so I'd said since I was so little that I was going to do a bodybuilding competition. And my mum the year before in 1999 competed and did very well. So I was like, I want to do it too. So he just made a decision, said, I'm going to do it. And to say I felt dead is
understatement.
Just, man, like, I can still remember it. That's 22 years ago.
Yeah. but I guess at that point, you also, you don't know any better. Like, you don't know what's right or wrong. So you think this is kind of what's meant to be felt, what's meant to happen. So, you know, I guess that also kind of helps as well.
100%. I mean, like, again, you could read stuff in the magazines. That was literally my only information, except for the owners of the gym and other guys in the gym who have competed, you know. So, yeah, you literally don't know anything. You're just a mushroom in a box, and it's just, that must be the only way you do it. They all must do the same thing. Yeah, it was a crazy time, that's for sure. So
after having the 15 years break, roughly, what kind of made you go back to it?
Well, I always wanted to fight. Again, another thing to probably learn how to protect myself. a bit of a childhood fear. So I wanted to fight. I was kickboxing for years in Adelaide, unfortunately living a party life as well. I wasn't going to get anywhere, and I knew, I'm like, if I want to fight, if I want to turn professional, if I want to do anything, I'll I'm going to have to move. Friends of mine were moving up here to the Gold Coast, and they're like, "Hey, we know you want to get out of the lifestyle you're living. Come with us." So, fuck it, let's go. Moved up here, joined an MMA club because I was just kickboxing back in Adelaide. There wasn't anything around back then, back home, like jiu-jitsu or anything like that. So joined an MMA club, and like a few months later, the managers of the gym just said, "Hey, did you want to fight?" Fuck it, yeah, all right. So I got into that, and I was fighting at 65 kilo, and you're full, just going for it.
Yeah.
Little. So you're training weights, but everything was like circuit training, everything. And then my son was born, and I had my last boxing fight, lost a decision. And I come home, and my partner at the time was holding her baby. And how'd you go? I said, we lost the decision, unfortunately. I gave her a kiss on the head, and I gave him a kiss on the head. He was a few weeks old.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to go have a shower. And I stood in the shower, and all the water that was running off me was just pink, fluoro pink. I'd broken the opponent's nose, and I was literally covered in his blood, kissing my baby.
Yeah.
Like, I've just kissed my baby covered in another man's blood. What the fuck am I doing here, man? So I decided there and then, standing in the shower, there's no more fighting. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I then went into fly in, fly out work. I did that for about a year and a half or so. And at the end of that year and a half, or nearly 2 years, I was doing fly in, fly out. I changed. I wasn't laughing as much anymore. I didn't really want to be with my partner anymore. I wasn't me at all.
Yeah.
So I'm like, something's wrong with me. I need to go get checked. So I went and got my bloods done. Doctors say you're fine because you look healthy. And then I found out about a doctor who does, TRT and HRT and that, and went and found him, and my testosterone was 6 or 7. And fuck, what do I do? And he's like, look, you take testosterone.
Yeah.
So we come up with a clinical dose. Everything was right. It was just a TRT treatment. And I felt myself again. And meanwhile, I'd been PTing from when I was 30, except for that year and a half away, flying fly out to you. And so I went back to PT when I quit fly in and fly out. And I was training people in like the MMA style, And then one day I just I might just do a weight session, like when I was a kid. And I think I did a back session, and fuck me, I was sore, man. Like everything, I was so fucking sore, and I enjoyed that. So I did it again the next day, and it started again from there. So I was about 36, I reckon. And so I was just on TRT, just started eating and training and doing everything. And again, my partner at the time, she said, I got you a present, and it was flights to Melbourne for the Arnolds. She's like, you should prep to compete at the Arnolds in 2017. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so she also had teed up a consultation with Logan, and we started prep.
Oh, that's crazy.
End of 2016, and the Arnolds was the first one back. Yeah,
that's interesting. So that's because that was another question I wanted to ask, was just kind of how that relationship with Logan kind of came about. And funnily enough, like your partner at the time was the one who kind of teed that up and got you guys kind of connected. That's really interesting. Did she know Logan? Did she kind of source it out?
We would. I was PTing down the road at Snap.
Yeah.
And then I moved up to. I started training myself up at Worlds to get out of work at Snap, and it's only like a K up the road. So, when I joined, I'd seen him around the gym, and I'd seen his picture on the wall, and he's big motherfucker. So, this guy's, how cool does that look, And then there's Big Sam walking around. It was a zoo back then, man.
Yeah, literally.
But and then she had asked for her free session to be with Logan, and he's like, "Look, I don't do free sessions, but you seem cool." So he did his free session with her, and I think that's how they probably first started talking, maybe from that. So. He's pretty friendly around the gym, like myself. So he would say hi when he saw you on the floor and that. So, she lined up something along the line there and did the consult with him. And,
No, that's really cool. It's really interesting to kind of see that. It's almost like a full circle moment, like you're saying. So you walked away, then you got into, fighting, kind of the same reason why you started the gym in the first place. Then, you ended up having your first son, kind of had that realization, this is not the lifestyle that I want to live anymore, especially now
Mm.
having a son. And then kind of going back to the gym and going, you know what, let's kind of go backwards, and then going, holy shit, I love this shit. Like, refining that passion again and that full
Yeah,
circle. It's really cool to see.
it's cool. And I knew when I was younger that the shape was there. I
Hmm.
knew I had like good shape. Obviously, my diet, I didn't get that condition, but um, I knew the shape was there. And with weight classes, you're like, look, you don't have to be the biggest. You just
Yeah.
stand against guys in your weight class. So, yeah, why not fucking give it a go? And then Logan, of course, got me very fucking lean the way you're supposed to.
Hmm.
It was a good show. It was a good season.
Yeah, it's been good. Like watching your progression too, because like I just want to touch on, your last prep that you did, you ended up pulling first place in, was it under 80s or 90s at nationals?
Under 90s,
Under
yeah.
90s, yeah. Like that was I was really excited to see. That was awesome. Like because you really
Thanks.
had like came back even harder from states, and like I remember, a lot of other people that your fans or family friends were just as excited to see you up there and win that. And you had done the posing routine for, was it your dad or
No, it was for my nana.
your nan? No, your nan. Sorry.
And for one of my best friends who passed
Yeah,
away of cancer, and my dog. So I had three deaths all in that part of
yeah.
Corona when it was bad, and we didn't have any. I couldn't travel to do anything, to say your
Mhm.
last goodbyes and everything. So yeah, it was a sad time, and I thought really my only way to sort of do something was just a routine that meant something to me. And
Yeah.
it might not have looked like it to other people, but that's the song that I chose. And
But that's the thing of the, I think, like, the posing routine, and what makes a good posing routine is, you're creating an art, and whether it's connected to whatever personal reasons, and for your case, that other people can feel the emotions behind it. That's why I think, when you look at people like Rough Diesel, or even, some like some of the classic pros that really have those really good posing routines, you can feel the emotion behind it.
100%. That Rough Diesel, that one he did, was it at the Arnold's? Um, I think maybe at the start of the year or
Yeah.
something. That's got to be the best routine that's ever been seen on stage. That was from
There's
another
something
planet.
special. He definitely has elevated the classic posing routine, or just posing in general. So
Yes.
it's really good to see.
And look, I'm seeing it here now locally. Like, I had three people use me as a posing coach.
Yeah, that's cool.
This last season. That's unheard of for
Yeah.
men. For
Yeah.
the women, they all get a posing coach,
Yeah.
they'll get help, and it's really commonplace because they really want to present themselves well on stage. And the men's sort of the ego's still a bit too big, and whatever it may be. So not many men and guys have reached out for help, in the past. And this last season, you work with three people, and I thought that was really fucking cool because they really gave a shit about their
Yeah.
mandatories and what it would look like and that. And I loved it. I thought that was really, really
No,
cool.
it's good. And like that's something I've always appreciated too. Is like, I remember the first time I saw George, when George did his posing routine, wasn't the last showing he did, but the one before that. And like, he really brought that, artistic flow to like open bodybuilding. And I think it's really cool. And it was really cool to kind of see then, him bring it back. And then even someone like, Jai Robson, he did a cool flowing posing, kind of like George, and was inspired by that. And, Louis Burkett, he's got a great physique and how to show that artistically. I think, it's really good to kind of integrate it and not it just be a classic thing, or not also just be a female posing, oh, we got to have this and this, like, let's bring it to, just instead of doing our mandatories or doing this and just kind of effort, not really like putting in that effort.
Yeah, and it's really cool because it's good you bring up George because his posing routines are one of the best. They're
Yeah.
really fucking cool. And I see you had Jaden on here too. Jaden's
Yeah,
routine
Jaden's good.
in
Jaden was good.
season A was beautiful as
Yeah.
well, and because he's a big guy, so it's impressive to see a big guy move like that and hit the shots like that. What's really cool is it's those younger guys that are putting in that effort
Mm.
and really not caring what you think of them. They want to really do their best. that's what's making the older guys, because it was all older guys I dealt with
Yeah.
posing. It was them going like, hey, do you know what? Like, it does look really cool when somebody gives a shit up there, doesn't it? And you're like, it fucking does, you know. And because I'm young, like my body's still young, I still act young and everything, but I'm one of the older boys,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's cool that when they see now one of the older guys as well that's trying to act like a George or what's his name, Pete Hartwig,
Pete Hartwig,
you
yeah.
know, all these people, you know, they're giving a shit. So yeah, I like where it's going. I like that the level of posing is really taken a notch up. Now, some people don't have the knack; they don't move well, you know, and that you can only help it to a certain extent, but you can tell that they're still giving a shit, and I like that, you know. Yeah.
It's really the effort that counts, and I think it's just like anything. Like you can always tell on stage, you know. I think sometimes some amateurs just think, oh well, we're amateurs, so it's okay. But you know, I'm pretty sure you still get marked on it. Like if you can be the first one in the pose and the last one out, you know, that's so important. Because, you know, if there's a split decision between 1 point, if this person held the pose for 5 more seconds and didn't wobble or shake, they're going to take the win.
I agree. If it's close,
yeah,
every bit counts. Like, I don't care what it is. If just the judges like their tan more,
yeah,
if they just like the way that they pose more, if it just, you know, like if it's close, every little bit counts. And you would hate it to be like you say, some posing looks shaky and weird, or you just rest. Oh shit, everyone else is still in the shot, I better get back in. But no, it is interesting you brought up before about the change from the state show to nationals.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on that because that's something that's come up from a lot of people. And I was even just talking to Mick Galley, who judged the Queensland show.
Yeah.
And then when he said like that nationals package, like how much you changed in 1 week, he's like, how the fuck did you do it? And it's like, I don't know. We ate no fucking carbs. We starved. The weight went up by about 1 kilo over that 4 days we didn't eat. And then we loaded very, very, very similar to the Queensland show, but I was bigger and leaner.
So must have been like that extra depletion. That's kind of like what I know Logan did a similar thing with Adam Wright, who just competed, and you know, he came in way sharp and he moved up at nationals. You know, he came first.
I messaged him. I said, bro, you did it. You got second at states, then won nationals. Like, welcome to the club.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it sort of made me rethink. With the last prep, we dieted constantly. We just dieted, pushed. I started probably not in the best condition. And we dieted the whole time. And just that peak week sort of just made me realize the value of, with my body type, keeping the refeeds in. Now, they might not need to be very often, but it's definitely showed the importance of every now and then just taking the foot off the pedal for 2 or 3 days, put the carbs in, and then drop it down hard again and push on, you know, because it did change a lot. And it was weird because I looked a lot bigger for nationals too.
Yeah.
But I was only, it might have been less than 1 kilo in it. But when I stood on the stage at States, I looked like a regular sized guy, a little bit smaller than this guy, a little bit bigger than that guy. But when I stood on nationals,
you're a lot fuller, but held that conditioning. Yeah,
it was really strange. It's like, how did you look so much bigger? Like, it's such an illusion, this sport. It's fucking weird.
Yeah. So is that something that you guys are kind of looking in towards heading into this prep now, kind of focusing on maybe, like you're saying, some more of these refeed days?
The good thing with Logan and me is he's a very easy guy to get along with, and he respects you and your knowledge a lot. So he takes what you say on board, but then he makes the final decision. So when we consult, it's a really nice discussion between us about how I think I'm feeling, what I think I'm seeing, what he's seeing, and what he perceives me feeling, and that. And we put all that information in the bucket, and then he goes, "Cool, this is what we're going to do." So I'll definitely put forward how I felt last prep. I think we were just a little bit smaller than what I could have been. Not by much, but again, I came in out of shape at the start of prep, so there's not much you can do. You've got to push and go hard. But we're in better better starting point this time. So hopefully we can just sort of maintain a little bit more size. But obviously I want that conditioning to be where George's was or Cam's was. Yeah. Those two guys that was
good showing. A good showing.
That was if I had have got their conditioning, maybe I could have picked Cam or put it out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you never know. You never know, honestly. Well, especially when it was really like, Cam's a short guy too. So, if you had that conditioning, could have been a closer battle between you both. And, you could have edged up on him if you were just a little bit fuller in a certain area. You never really know.
It was, and it was close. I think like I pushed him, but it was unanimous. Every judge gave him the win, and rightfully so. It was a pretty wild looking package. But yeah, that's what we're going for. We know that we match well in aesthetics and shape and proportions and everything like that. So that's good to know. It's just getting that razor sharp conditioning. And, I think we'll get that this time.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So you probably will be sticking to under 90s. What you won't?
Yeah, I only weighed in at 81.8.
81.8.
Yeah,
you were that light. You were that tail end.
Little.
Wow,
a little.
You got a lot of room.
That's the illusion. That's the illusion. I looked like one of the. There might have only looked like one or two guys bigger than you. Yeah, I was the smallest on stage.
That's crazy. That's so much wiggle room too, especially to like grow into the top end of that. If you can keep it all lightened up. That's actually really exciting.
That's how Aaron Pilates did it. I think when he turned pro, he was about the mid-80s.
Yeah.
Because when you're our height, and again, similar structures between me and Aaron, similar-ish. When you were 85 kilos, you saw he looked big.
Yeah.
He looked fucking big. And then when he did the Olympia, I think he was 90 or 91. So something like that. Yeah. So it's like you say, that wiggle room, if all of a sudden we can come in this time at that 83, 84, it looks...
You look twice as big. That's the thing. Like, and then it will give you that edge up, especially if, like you're saying, you have that conditioning, because you could be pushing someone who's like on that 89, who's cutting down to fit into the under 90s, and they're, not doing so good at their physique because they're either going to come in a bit too soft, over dieted, whatever. But you've got like still an extra 5 kilos to 90, so you got all the space in the world. That's really, really exciting.
I've got time as well. The body's young and healthy. I don't have any injuries. So we got a little while to see if we can end up ticking that big box one day.
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
So something that I've been thinking about lately, especially with other competitors coming in, is like, seeing that you took first at nationals. Has it kind of set an expectation? Like, are you going into this new prep and this new season with, okay, because you always want to beat the package you brought before, but do you remove the fact of, okay, I was lucky enough to come first because this is the competition, this is how I showed, but this is a whole new different competition, new athletes, so I know you want to maybe repeat and come first, but like, do you get the question I'm trying to ask? Like, do you have that expectation there, or?
No, I only expect full effort.
Yeah.
So if I eat all my meals, I do all my steps, I lift all my weights. If I just do all those things, then that's literally all I can do. I can only win compared to who I'm standing next to, and that's who turns up.
Yeah.
There's a good competitor in New South Wales, Mike Dawn, pretty impressive physique. I think he was in the under 90s. He pulled out, I think, as an illness or something wrong. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But, it'd be nice to stand next to a guy like that. He wasn't there. Who knows? He could turn up this time. And the thing is competing's completely out of your hands. It's judge's decision. It's like all you can do is everything leading up to that point. You're not in control of anything outside. So I'm very unique. I prepare to win. I have a winner's mentality and a winner's preparation, and I give a fuck. I really do give a fuck. But then on the flip side, I don't care what placing I get, because that's nothing to do with me. It can be dead close. Like we said just before, when it's close, everything counts.
Mm.
And like somebody might have a bigger history in the sport. And therefore, when it's dead even between you, they could get the nod.
Yeah.
Or I might be the guy who won last year and I could get the nod over somebody who pushed me to the last percent, like that's how it goes, and you've just got to take whatever you're given with a smile and a grain of salt and just know that I don't care what place I get, as long as when I walk off that stage, I know I did everything to get there and be whatever the best is that I'm capable of.
No, that's good. I think that's a really, really good mindset. You're going in knowing, okay, everything I've got, doing 100%, ticking every box. But, then being able to, like you said, flip that switch, get to stage and going, okay, I've done everything now.
Yeah.
It's the judges, it's whoever shows up, this is it. And, it's just, I think that also in return kind of can also help you enjoy the show day. Of course, you're always going to be bummed that you may not have placed or didn't do as well, but at least that's not your focus. And, I feel sometimes some people, they go in going, no, I need to get this, and then they don't get the placing. And it just kind of ruins the whole day for them. And then they've, kind of really thrown out the past 16, 24, 12, however long they've prepped for.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that was the thing. When I come second to state, I was over the moon. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I had a lot of comments, a lot of people complaining about decision, and for whatever reason, you'd have to ask them individually. And the stories were blowing up on social media. Yeah. And I just put a story and said, hey, everybody needs to say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, that's how this sport works. I could have got third. I could have got fourth. I could have won. It doesn't matter, Like, he got the nod. I feel like it was competitive, and I feel like if we stood next to each other again, I think the judges would change their mind.
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter what happened last week. We just need to carry on and push on. And then when I got to nationals and won, I'd never won so anything. So to win the nationals was amazing. And then to stand in the overall and to see Cam get it, I know Cam did everything 100%. That motherfucker was switched on from the first day of prep. So I was ecstatic for him. There's no disappointment. There was absolutely nothing. It was really fucking cool how much happiness I had for him, knowing that it went to someone who's that dedicated. And it just made you go, that's how dedicated I got to be next time. I got to find another. I think I was close to 100%, but was I 100%? Yeah, no, there's some percents we can pick up there. And so I thought it was amazing. And to touch on the other point you made is, I think when there's expectations, when people say I'm coming for that pro card, I'm coming for the win, all this sort of stuff, you're 100% right. When you walk out on that stage and you stand next to a can, it's out of your fucking hands now.
What can you do?
Like, you've got to just run with it and, just be happy. Shake the hand of the person who wins, because if you can look back and say, fuck, I gave 100% and he beat me, fair play to you.
Yeah.
Fair play to you. That's
what it comes down to, that it is, at the end of the day, it is a subjective sport, We all want to be winners. It's just how the sport runs.
And what about, that sort of kind of throwing shit in the face of the people who get last?
Yeah.
Maybe genetically they're never gonna win. Maybe they just do it because they fucking love it. They starved and were tired and were miserable just as much as the winners. They deserve to feel like they deserve to feel amazing no matter what place they get, because if there's 12 of us on stage at nationals, there's 30 that pulled out. And like, to go up there and get last, if they were hurting, if they were hurting just like the winner, then fair play to them as well.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. There's a lot of talk at the moment with, like the Olympia at the moment, it's going to be the most stacked lineup. Like there's 30, 35 athletes, but it's kind of like that thing, like James Hollingshed, he's been saying, he's like, I'm just happy to be there. Like the thing is, whether I come, top 10, top 20, top 30, if I come 35th, like the thing is, I'm on this stage, and like you're saying, I think about how many people didn't make it to the Olympia. So it's just like you're saying, 12 people on stage. I came 12 at nationals, but how many people were, in that category at each stage show that didn't rock up? There could have been 35, 40 athletes. So, it's that same type of mentality. I think it's, very important to have that. It's a kind of like gratitude.
And there's something quite empowering about actually, and this is the thing, what made this season so different to previous seasons is previous seasons I've self-sabotaged a lot. And I've built in excuses so that when I didn't win, I could say to myself, when no one's around, oh, it's because I didn't do this, it's because I did that, you know what I mean? And you're building bullshit in. And it's quite empowering to say, how about this? I'm going to give 100 fucking percent and just get given whatever position I deserve. If that's last, so be it. You know, don't build any excuses in so that when you get last, you can say, well, it's because I did this, because, you know, they thought that.
Yeah.
Bullshit, man. Like,
it's a
just
cop
go
out.
for it. Go give yourself your best.
Yeah.
Just take whatever you're given.
Yeah. No,
it
definitely.
takes a lot of balls.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So it's something that you kind of touched on before, and we kind of went about this. But I just want to go back to it briefly. Is, you know, you were saying about you know, with Logan, and, you know, talking about how you're saying, you know, thinking about getting more refeeds and kind of how your, you know, athlete coaching relationship is. And I think it's really important to, you know, have a coach where, like you're saying, you know, he makes that final decision, but you have the availability to be open and be like, hey, okay, I'm feeling this. You know, maybe I think we might need to add this in. And, you know, he can go, okay, yep, I'm going to take that on board, and maybe we'll wait one more week, or no, you're right, I think I agree with that. Let's do that. Because I find sometimes, you know, some coaches you know, and athletes may not have that same type of relationship. And, you know, that's why I wanted to pose a question to you was, have you ever thought about, you know, doing a prep yourself? Because, you know, I think it's really important. I feel like there's a line that needs to be drawn, you know, between blindly following your coach, because, you know, there's still a degree of, if you've been doing it long enough, you know yourself the best. You know, they only know what you share. And I think so. Let me try and reword it. So, one, do you think you could prep yourself, or would you ever consider it?
I've done 2018 and 2019. So 2018 season A, and then 2019 season A and season B by myself.
Oh, you did them by yourself. Okay.
So I did 2017 with Logan.
Yeah.
When I started 2018, my intention was to use Logan again, but having the two kids by then, and one income, which was me PTing, and that I couldn't afford the coaching, so I ended up coaching myself. Very loosely. Was not the best package, but I did it anyway. 2019 season A was better, was big and full. I got a third. Carlos got second, and I can't remember his name, who won that one. And then 2019 season B, I did it properly. So I started a chart, and I would do like my weight, my blood pressure, my blood glucose, my body temperature, and then that was every day, and I'd document that. And then I would document what the calories and macros were for that day, and then what anabolics went in that day.
Yeah.
And I tracked every single day going through, and I used blood glucose markers. So in the past, I was just refeeding for the sake of refeeding, just because I was hungry, having cravings. And of course, you need the pizza and churros and ice cream. Making bullshit up. So when I did that way, I said, look, I'm going to monitor all of this data. And if blood glucose is dropping, if body temperature is dropping, I use the body temperature as a marker for the speed of your thyroid. The blood glucose, obviously, how much storage you got going on. And if the correlating evidence was showing that I needed food to get the system going again, I'd refeed. And so I would enter in all the macros into that, and I'd eat that food for the day. I'd document all the numbers the next day. And if the numbers hadn't started reversing yet, I'd eat it again. And I'd eat those high days until I could stabilize my blood sugar and get my body temperature in that back up. So that was cool. And that was working very, very well. I was maintaining a lot of size. I was getting really fucking lean. There's a few photos lower down on my page from that prep. And they're dug out. They were fucking good. And then I was about 6 weeks out, I think. That was a short prep. I started at 11 weeks out, mind you, for that one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then Anne-Marie. I did a posing session with Anne-Marie. And she's like, fuck, this is, you know, it's going good. She's like, who's looking after you? I said, I'm doing it all myself. She's like, all right, what's your plan? What are you taking? What's going on? I ran through it, everything with her. And she gave a few critiques. And I'm like, shit, if I wasn't coaching myself, they're sensible critiques that I'd make.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, do you want to do the rest of my prep?
Yeah, I can't think I remember this. I think I remember you working with her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, fucking let's do it. So it was going really well. Everything was going great until the peak week for nationals. I overdid the diuretics. We put our Dactone in, the Moduretics and everything. And also because of the refeeding and everything, I was maintaining a lot of size. And I was still hovering around 80.5, stuff like that. So we had to fast to make the weight.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time nationals came, I fasted for a bit over 24 hours, stood on the scale at Doherty's, weighed in at like 79.4, something like that. Beautiful. And then ate 1,100 grams of carbs that afternoon. And none of it stuck.
Whoa.
None of it stuck. And because the Dactone was in, the Moduratic went in. I ate like 2.8 kilos of rice, like 4 bananas, a bottle of maple syrup, fucking all this stuff. And when I woke up in the morning, it looked pretty good from the front.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the back, obviously, because I was alone in the hotel room. And when we got on, and then her thing was not to eat much on the day of the show. You want that small waist.
Yeah.
But that was one thing. In hindsight, we'd probably both look back at that and say, hey, for someone who only started eating at lunchtime yesterday, we need to get some meals in on the day. So by the time we got on stage, the front looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But there was nothing in the back. Okay. My back there was nothing. It was gone. So I was flat as fuck. So that one would have been a competitive package, but yeah, unfortunately, we just couldn't. We were nowhere near the mark. We missed it by a mile. So and so I have done 2.5 preps by myself and seen it, and that was why for this next one, I've seen Logan in the gym. So how you going? How you going? Said, what do you reckon we do about we put the band back together, do another prep? He's like, fuck yeah. I'm like, all right, done.
That's awesome. I feel like in retrospect, though, you can kind of having those 2 years, 2.5, doing it yourself and having the help with Anna Marie, like you can kind of, you still learn a bit more about yourself. You still kind of learn that. So then you can also then transfer that knowledge with Logan. Yeah. And then you can also kind of say, oh, well, the 2 years I did by myself, I did this worked, we noticed this didn't happen, or, oh shit, I was good from the front, but not good from the back. And then I guess he can use that same data. So I guess it's in some way, helped you, and, you guys bought the package and, you ended up winning. So it's exciting.
Exactly. And I still think there's a lot of wiggle room for us to pinch some methods from that one that I did by myself, and I documented everything. Because that one there, I mean, I would have started that prep at about 80, 86, 87. And at at 80 to 81, I was fucking dug out. I was diced, so having those refeeds, but they're not a weekly thing. Like it might have took me 3 weeks before all those numbers started to come down. I needed refeed. Sometimes I do the refeed for 2 or 3 days, and then literally 2 or 3 days after that, I crashed again. The body, everything just gave out. And then you do another refeed for, again, monitor it, might go for 2 days, and then you can stabilize those numbers for 2 weeks again.
Yeah.
It was fucking weird, but I stayed a lot bigger and fuller and was still getting really, really lean. Obviously not as lean as what this was, but I think we can pinch. I think we can steal a little bit from that, and then obviously put the Logan twist on it where you get really fucking grainy at the end. And
that's good. Get that final package. Do you think that if you were to,
get a how
you're saying you got to like 81 kilos and like you're really dug out and you're looking good, do you think that if you tried not to push below 80 and you kind of tried to maintain that could have ended up bringing a better, package, and you may have not,
absolutely. I would have absolutely been a better package, but unfortunately, the way that the diuretics run in that, I probably still would have run a risk of flattening out.
Okay.
I know a few other people from the same season that used very similar protocols, and it's the same across all of us. We got up on stage really flat, no substance. So whatever your weakness was, which for me was the back half, was just gone.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. But like you said, at least you know you kind of what method you can kind of take into this one.
Yeah,
So
you live and learn.
yeah, exactly. It's trial and error. That's why it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. There's a lot to learn in this sport. It's not necessarily a lot to learn about proteins, fats, and carbs, but about you and
Mm.
how your body responds, and then mentally ways that you look to self-sabotage yourself, or ways that you go too hard when sometimes you should just be pulling back and let the body rest. And then times where you're resting and you should be fucking putting the foot down. Like, we
Yeah,
all have our own individual personalities, and then that personality molds the hungrier and more tired we get too. So
definitely. So
you get to
all of
see the different versions of yourself come undone
yeah,
as you go on prep.
it's just a combination. It's like Pandora's box. What's it today?
What's
Everything
next?
popping out.
What's it from Shrek? Like an onion? You just
Yeah,
do like
peeling the layers.
going through layers. Your 16-week prep, you've got about 16 different
Yeah.
personalities that come out through it. So it's a fucking interesting time.
So speaking on that, actually, that kind of brings me to my next question is, I'm really just interested to kind of hear for yourself, what is something that's kind of been throughout your whole journey through in the bodybuilding, or the fitness industry, what has kind of, been the hardest um learning experience, the hardest time you've experienced, or that's been a reflection from bodybuilding?
I'd have to go to this last prep that we did. Being a single dad, and I have the kids 50-50, so 1 week on, 1 week off. That fuck, man. I was so fucking tired. I couldn't move. I couldn't, like, it was crazy. Like, I'd wake up 4 in the morning or whatever just to go for a walk so I could get a
Yeah,
walk done before the kids got out of bed. And then you make their breakfast, make your breakfast, and make your meals for the day. Get them to school, go to work, PT, fit your training in, pick them up from school, bring them home. They'd make a snack to eat. Then you'd go for another. Guys, is it okay if Dad goes for half an hour? Yeah, Dad, all right. So then I'd do my walk, come back, all right, what do you want for dinner? You cook their dinner, get them in the shower, get them in the bath, make your dinner, everything, get them to bed. And then I'd just pass the fuck out.
yeah,
But then you're not sleeping well because you're deep in prep.
right.
So it's just go, go, go. The loads of washing. You got a load of washing every single day of kids' clothes and your clothes, the dishwashers every day, vacuuming, mopping, 2-3 bathrooms in the house. Like, you're looking after 2 human beings on your own.
Mm.
So it's the same prep that everyone else did. Everyone else was tired. Everyone else was, but that for me was the first time I ever done it as a single dad, having the kids there. And man, there were days I didn't know what
Rough.
to do. I didn't know what to do, man. There was a couple of days where I thought I was going to fucking die. You're that exhausted and tired. You're freaking out because you've never felt so dead in your life. You're breaking down, obviously not in front of the kids because you're just like, am I doing the right thing? Like, I haven't played with the kids in weeks. I don't have energy to play. I take them to a playground and, is it all right if Dad just sits here and has a coffee, guys? Yeah, okay, Dad, we get it. And I just, fuck, the poor little,
Yeah.
they're understanding. They love you unconditionally. That's the best thing about them. But man, it gets to you sometimes. It gets to me now thinking about it. Just remembering back to those times, like, just
Because it's just that like that you're torn between, wanting to be there, wanting to be, a supportive dad, experiencing life with them, but you're at the same time you're dedicating yourself to something that really, puts restrictions on all areas of life like that. And
yeah.
so what was a way that did you end up finding a way to manage that stress? Because we always talk about in prep, managing stress and how much stress can actually affect our body while we're in such a depleted state. So did you end up working out like a routine or something that kind of you just
I mean, I had a routine.
yeah.
Like, I had a routine, but no, I couldn't find a way to mitigate it. I literally just had a mantra in my head. I was on a loop 10,000 times a day. I just said, just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Just keep. That's all I could fucking say. I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything. Like, and you'd look at the dishwasher, and then the kids are like, "Can I have this to eat? Can you make me some scrambled eggs and that?" I just keep going. We don't have any uniforms. Fuck, I've got to put a load of washing on. Just keep going. Just keep going. It was fucking wild, man. Like, I just don't know. I
All
don't know how to
props to you
explain it.
though. Like that's showing like the willpower you have and determination. Because I'm sure there's like, if you were to do a survey out of 10 people, at least 8, 7 people would have went, "Ah, fuck it, I'm done. I'm not doing this."
Oh yeah, I said it. I said it 100 times a day. I said, "Fuck this, I'm done." But I can't quit nothing. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And the good thing is since season A till now, my kids make their own brekkie now. So
One achievement succeeded.
And then the afternoon snacks, like my daughter will put a popcorn in the microwave, and my son will make himself a bowl of oats and that. So they make their snacks themselves now. So I'm like, look, I've got through that. This next prep.
That's two things you don't have to worry about. You can use this as an opportunity to teach them how to do the washing, how to put the dishes on.
Boom. Boom. That's exactly right. Here's some pocket money. Empty the dishwasher. Or here's some pocket money will start this prep as well. So look, if I got through that one, then I'm good. I'm good now. Good. But yeah, that was the hardest prep by a mile. And then obviously the best conditioning I've ever had. So that adds a different aspect as well.
Sometimes that's the thing. Sometimes you got to put yourself in the toughest situation or go through the hardest things to kind of, come out on top. And, so whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, quote, at the end of the day, like you in the moment, you went through all the hardships, but coming out of it, you brought the best package, you won. Now going into this prep, you've gone, okay, well, I've gone through it once. I hadn't experienced it, but I have now. I know what I can do. I know what I need to do. I can survive this. It may not feel as hard. It's just kind of like we always talk about, when you're growing weight, you may be uncomfortable with your first 100 kilos, but when you cut back down, get back to 100 kilos, it's not as bad as the first time.
100%. 100%. And that's the thing. I think it's just familiarity.
Yeah.
So now I know it's going to hurt. I know it's going to hurt just as bad in a lot of ways, but because you felt it before, it's not as bad. There's some sort of familiarity there where you can lean on your experience and just say, hey, we've been here. This feeling where you think like you're going to die, that just lasts a half a day. That's all right. If you can get through that, just keep going. Just keep going. You'll come good. You'll come good, and we get through today. Boom, one day at a time.
That's right. Perfect mentality.
Yeah. It's the only one we got.
Exactly. That's the truth. That's couldn't be said better. So my last question before we kind of wrap things up, so we don't end things on a kind of a negative question.
Yeah, let's be positive.
Yeah, we'll flip it around. And so what's kind of been like the biggest positives that have come out of, could be one thing, could be multiple things. Just, how has, bodybuilding kind of positively influenced your life?
Even just comments like you made when we began this, you said, like, I've been a fan of yours, like that's people. I don't get it a lot, obviously, because you're not famous or anything, but you do get it often enough that people are watching you, and they may not pay you for coaching. They may not message you on here and ask advice, but you're still feeding them in some way. They see you as a dad. They see you as at an age where a lot of people are making excuses that they're too old, and you're still feeding them. So that every time, like my mum was just in Melbourne actually, and she was talking to some guy who looked good and everything, and like, you in the gym? And he's, and she's like, oh, my son's a bodybuilder as well. And he's like, oh, really? She's like, oh, you should see him. She pulls out the photos, and I don't know who it was. So if anybody happens to see this, and he goes, that's fucking Sammy. She's like, you know him? He's like, I look up to that guy. That's exactly what I want to look like and shit. So mum rang me, and I just couldn't believe that words was coming out of another person's mouth. That spun me out, like, so the fact that a normal everyday person can motivate some other just regular Joes as well, it's pretty amazing. Getting home, putting the medals on my kids, getting some photos, that they were so proud. That's fucking
something
cool.
Different. That touches home.
That was fucking cool. They were so happy to wear them, and they're heavy, and they're posing and having a laugh. It's obviously good for business, competing, doing well is especially good for business. So, like, it's introduced me to a lot of good people.
Yeah.
You know, people like Cam, you know, to go back to him, you know, like he's a very kind, quiet, gentle person, you know, not the typical fitness industry person that you'd make an assumption of. So it's really nice meeting good people. I've met a lot of good people through here as well. So it's all positive.
Yeah.
You know, the negative is just when you're down, you get a bit hard on yourself again with the kids and stuff like that. But then when you see the end result and they're happy for you, and now this time they're going to come to the shows because Nationals is in Queensland and that this time. So that's gonna, you know,
Exciting.
they're gonna get to see what it's all about, like why Dad goes through all of that, you know.
Yeah.
So
No,
I've
it's
had a
awesome.
lot of positive experiences.
No, it's really good to hear. No, I feel like the sport, from an outsider point of view, you know, we get a lot of slack, and because unfortunately there is certain people that do fill that stereotype, or do even
Yes.
within the fitness industry, and but I feel like it's there are still a huge amount of us that are so nice, so humble, are so
Yes.
friendly, and also touch on that thing where you're saying about your mom seeing the guy, like we live in a day and age of social media that if we're constantly posting things, or sharing ourselves, who we are, our daily life, people are seeing that, even if it's one person. And it's that thing of one person, we can make an influence on one person from just simply I work at a retail at the moment, and we kind of get told always smile at a customer, always ask them how they're going. It's that mentality of you have no idea how someone's day is, and you just give them one smile or hey, how are you, can change their whole day. And it's the same type of thing with this. We can use this so positively to influence others. And I can understand how it's such a rewarding feeling in return, like you're saying, hearing me tell you like you don't even know me, and like I'm like, yo, I've been a fan for like way back. Or the guy the mum saw. Yeah, so it's really cool.
It's fucking unreal. It really is, man. It really is. And like, like people, I feed off positive.
Yeah.
I'm not a negative guy. If you can't tell, I laugh and smile a lot. I'm very encouraging to all my friends. Like I'm always supporting anyone. If I can send you a text message or just anything, I'm, keep going. I'm watching what you're doing. Like I feed off positive energy. So like I need that in return. I give a lot of positive energy. So when it comes back and people are saying, I see you, yeah, fuck, man, that fuels me. That fills me up, and I'm good to go for another whole day.
No, that's good. It's good. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for chatting. It's been amazing. And
Pleasure.
I'm looking forward to everyone listening to it. I hope they get as much out of it as I did.
I hope so. And look, thank you, man. Like just sort of exposing us nobodies, us little amateurs. You know what I mean? This is a pretty cool idea. I like it.
Thank
So
you,
no,
man.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you having me on.
Nah, it's been awesome. I'll definitely have to get you on again.
Yeah, we'll do it. I'm
Awesome.
free.
Sweet. Thank you, man. Have a good rest of the night.
Thank you. You too, brother.
Cheers.